Hi, this is Senator Dick Durbin. I'd like to welcome you to the 16th Annual State Conference of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce. This is an important event at a critical time in our history. As we move beyond the darkest days of the pandemic, it's the businesses and entrepreneurs here today that will bring our economy back to where it belongs. It's no secret these 18 months that we've just gone through have not been easy. The pandemic fell hardest on Black business owners and communities of color, with Black business ownership falling by more than 40%. In response, Congress passed many relief bills to provide assistance to families, small businesses, state and local government. And while we've made strides in responding to this pandemic, we know the job isn't over and that now is not the time to pat ourselves on the back. The economic recovery has been uneven and unequal. There are still too many families, businesses, and communities struggling. But under President Biden's leadership, we can both recover from the pandemic and address the inequities in our economy and society at the same moment. That means more capital for Black business and entrepreneurs, supporting community development, financial institutions, and minority depository institutions, and making the investments to close the racial wealth gap. As I close, I want to encourage you to take the knowledge and insights you hear over the coming days and use it to engage with your representatives in Washington. Let us know where you stand on the issues, and you're going to have an impact, I guarantee you. When we work together, we can have a longer lasting impact that really helps our nation.
Good afternoon, Brother Larry Ivory. Good afternoon to everyone watching. My name is Richard Irvin. I'm the mayor of the city of Aurora, Illinois, the second largest city in the state of Illinois. My second term here, and recognize the value of economic development, and mostly recognize the value of economic development from the Black business perspective. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to Larry Ivory and his whole team at the Illinois Black Chambers of Commerce for putting together this conference. And I know it's via Zoom, but hopefully coming up real soon, maybe next year, we'll be able to get back together in a room, and break some bread together. But let me talk about the importance of supporting the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce and what Black businesses do for every municipality, especially the state of Illinois. Supporting our African American minority businesses ensures success in our minority communities. If we don't look out for each other, nobody will. So we've got to support each other and make sure that we step up and do what's necessary for the continued success of our Black organizations. I, for one, have been working hard to make sure our disadvantaged business enterprises, our minority business enterprises are successful here in the city of Aurora and throughout Illinois to ensure that we have what we need to get the job done here in Aurora and look out for the communities that look just like us. So again, I want to thank the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce for everything you do to ensure the success here in Illinois for our Black-owned businesses, and making sure that cities like Aurora with African-American mayors, are successful and we have access to those Black businesses that want to come, set up shop in our community. So again, thank you for another successful conference that I know you'll have. Look forward to meeting with you, in person next time, the next conference in a year. And Larry, you're doing a bang up job, brother. And I appreciate everything you do for the state of Illinois and for our community.
Today, Governor Pritzker enacted a sweeping new energy law that makes Illinois the national leader in renewable, reliable, and affordable energy. But just as importantly, it does so in a way that recognizes the true diversity in our state. I'd like to take a few moments to talk about that and why it is so important, not just for energy policy, but for everything we do. This new energy law is the most aggressive, progressive policy in the country. It sets us on a course for Illinois to be 100% renewable energy by 2050. That's great. It's our official recognition of the dangers of climate change and the need for all of us to do something about it now for future generations. But there's a lot more to this legislation. We don't just put a deadline on carbon and coal. No, we set ourselves up to win by investing in wind, solar, and other renewable energies. Over the coming years, billions of dollars will be invested in renewable programs and technology. We want to make Illinois a leader in the green economy and the green energy jobs. And when I say Illinois, I mean all the wonderful, diverse people that call our great state home. Here's what we do in our new law to try to make sure that happens. Number one, we're creating a number of statewide programs to help train workers for the new clean energy economy and provide a pipeline to good paying, family sustaining jobs. We're creating a new clean energy economy and taking steps to ensure that everyone has fair access to those job investments and opportunities. We're offering startup money to new minority-owned businesses that are trying to enter the clean energy economy. I think that the green economy is one of the most exciting economic prospects in recent history in Illinois. And the things that I've outlined are all steps to ensure that the state is investing in the communities of color and existing minority-owned businesses. Furthermore, that we're looking to create startup opportunities for new minority-owned businesses to get in on the ground floor and be a part of this. At its core, the green energy and climate law is inherently a social justice law. Credit for a lot of this goes to our coalition, our energy coalition, our subgroups of lawmakers who worked on it over the last couple of years. Along with myself, it would be people like President Harmon and Senators Castro and Villanueva. But, you know, this isn't the first time that we've taken this approach. Last year, we approved the Black Caucus Pillars. They came in response to the murder of George Floyd. I had the opportunity to sponsor the economic pillar in that historic legislation last year. There was a lot of attention given on ending cash bail and other law enforcement reforms, but the overall package was much more broader. It was much more robust. It dealt with education inequities. It dealt with healthcare inequalities and disparities. And again, we dealt with the economic pillar as well, and getting a greater infrastructure for people of color, particularly African Americans, to get in that procurement space with the state. So the overall package was a comprehensive social justice policy designed to get at the root of the injustices and address them. Standing on their own, the energy law and the social justice pillars are each tremendous achievements based solely on the technical merit. But I argue their true success goes far beyond that. The true accomplishment of both pieces of legislation, are that they're sweeping plans that have and will forever change policy debates in this state. They each established a new marker for diversity and inclusion, for investment and opportunity. I am extremely proud to have been part of both. And I very much look forward to continuing this approach and addressing other problems and issues. I thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to all of you this morning, and thank you.
Next, I'm proud to say thanks a lot to Senator Belt, but also the next person that's going to say hello to us is the very first African-American person to serve as mayor of the great city of Peoria, a good friend of mine, Dr. Rita Ali. Mayor, are you there?
Good morning. Hi, can you hear me, Larry?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm really proud to be here this morning. Normally, we would be right here in Peoria area, East Peoria, celebrating this annual conference. Thank you to my friend Larry Ivory for always including me in important events. And this is certainly an important event, even though it's a virtual event. The virtuality helps to flatten the world, right? It connects us no matter where we are. Larry looks like he's in maybe he's in Africa. Who knows where Larry Ivory is today? But I want to say welcome to everyone. I'm in Peoria, the first African-American mayor, as Larry mentioned, sworn in on May the 4th, also the first woman to be elected mayor of the city of Peoria, a very proud position. We got our census numbers recently, and Peoria has a population of 113,100 people. So we are a mid-sized city in central Illinois. We are very interested in having more African-American vendors, more African-American businesses in Peoria. The city of Peoria is very interested in contracting new contractors who are people of color, businesses of African-American descent. So we want to encourage those who are not doing business with the city of Peoria to register with us, to let us become familiar with your business, and know that Peoria was named the most affordable city in America to live in. And that's not saying that we have cheap housing, it's saying that there is affordable quality housing that's attracting people from all over the country. So I want to say welcome to Peoria, even though you may not be physically here. We're excited about what's going to happen in Peoria in the days ahead. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak, Larry.
So I hope you've been having a great time at this year's convention so far. I want to begin by thanking the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to speak today and continuing to advocate on behalf of Black businesses here in Chicago and beyond. As we are all painfully aware, the pandemic has taken a deep, devastating toll on, and disproportionately so, on Black communities and businesses. Here in Chicago, we believe that the success of our Black businesses is a key to our entire community. And I understand about 90% of you represent Black businesses here in Chicago. Chicago's incredibly diverse and resilient economy is in large part thanks to the many businesses owned by Black entrepreneurs just like you. From restaurants to retail and everything in between, Black-owned businesses here in our city have made so many countless and invaluable contributions to enhance the quality of life of our residents. And while many are located or serve communities on the south and west sides, the impact is felt all across Chicago. And furthermore, so many of our neighborhoods, Black businesses fuel their local economies and keep them vibrant. Importantly, you all give our Black residents the opportunity to gain upward mobility and to pass on wealth to their families, which is critically important. It's for these reasons and more that leaders must do everything in their power to support Black businesses and form enriching environments for creation of more. Too often, systemic inequity prevents Black businesses from getting the resources that you all need to start and continue to operate. And that's where leaders can step in. My administration remains deeply committed to the success of our Black entrepreneurs and businesses. And I'm a strong believer that the change we need and the change that we want doesn't just happen. We have to be intentional and we have to make it happen. And city governments can play a large role in that process, as you well know. Just yesterday, the city council confirmed the renewal of our minority and women-owned business enterprise ordinance. We are one of the few cities in the country that unabashedly supports race-based programs because we know that that's critically important to the success of our city and communities of color. And I'm grateful that the work is going to continue. And we've also done a number of other things over the course of my term that I just want to highlight that is really focused on building Black wealth. Earlier this year in March, we announced 3 new efforts to further support our small, minority, and women-owned businesses. The first is a Vendor Impact Fund, which is designed to combat long-standing inequities and give disadvantaged firms better access to affordable capital. You know this as entrepreneurs. If you don't have access to capital, your great idea just stays that. It doesn't become reality. So making sure that we have access to capital is critically important, and one of the reasons why we created this Vendor Impact Fund. The second is making sure that we pay people promptly. We initiated a prompt pay working group to make sure that vendors that do business with the city are paid in an efficient and timely manner. Small businesses, mid-sized businesses, they can't afford to float the costs that they and the revenues that they are owed for 60, 90, 120 days or even longer. And that prevents them from being able to participate in programs put on by the city. So I want to make sure that we shrink that time from when an invoice comes in, that we are doing everything we can to get payments out the door as fast as possible. And the third is an executive order I issued to enhance reporting measures and better understand how diverse firms are being utilized on both city, but also non-city contracts. And let me expand on that point. We want to make sure that we're only doing business with people who share our values. And it's important that we not just accept what people say is their supplier diversity or other standards. We want to make sure that the people who are doing business with us actually live those values outside of city contracts by hiring Black and brown and women-owned businesses. We believe that this is critically important. The order requires regular quarterly reporting on minority and women-owned business utilization by prime contractors, and it further requires contractors to report what they're doing. In addition to these measures, when I kicked off the Chicago Works capital plan in April of this year, I announced that we'll place a high priority on contracting with women, minority, and locally owned businesses, as well as create job opportunities, good paying jobs, union wage jobs to people in the trades. On top of these newer initiatives, you are aware, and I'll repeat, our signature economic development program, Invest Southwest, has continued to provide opportunities for Black entrepreneurs to start or expand their businesses by using public and private sector resources to meet their various needs. And we have also continued to support and enhance the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. We changed that from being a matching grant to a pure grant. And we provided technical assistance on the front end to help people apply, and on the back end, once people were able to access these funds, so they could turn those resources into real project plans that help expand or launch their businesses. Since I've become mayor, the NOF program, as I said, has been updated to make it a pure grant program. It isn't simply enough to throw money at challenges facing our Black entrepreneurs and businesses. As I said at the beginning, we have to be intentional and think beyond the short term by providing them with information and knowledge that is necessary to be able to thrive, access to capital, making sure that we're providing technical experience, expertise, and providing opportunities to build wealth and pass on generational wealth. That is really at the heart of the work that we're doing here with the city of Chicago since I've become mayor. So I want to thank you for creating this opportunity for me to speak. I hope you gained some knowledge from the things that we've shared, and I look forward to working collaboratively with all of you to move forward on the things that we know are important. Building Black wealth, creating entrepreneurial opportunities, and making sure that we are partnering and reducing regulatory barriers to folks getting opportunities with cities and other kinds of government, and challenging ourselves to do more. That's what we have to be about. So I thank you for this opportunity.
Well, Mayor, well, let us say on behalf of the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce and its board, it's a pleasure to hear from you. It's a pleasure to have you speak to our group today. And we again value your input, and we look forward to working with your administration to help improve Black business. We think if you strengthen Black businesses, you strengthen Black community, and you also strengthen the whole state of Illinois when we all work together. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
leadership.
And let me just say one last thing, if I can. I neglected to say, on this coming Monday, I will be delivering our budget address. And in that, we'll be talking a lot about these same kinds of issues. We really, I think, have a once in a generation opportunity to make a meaningful difference. We've got an unusual amount of money from the federal government, but we're going to augment that with some other things that I think will really turn the tide and make sure that our recovery is really robust and includes all of our neighborhoods, not just the downtown, not just the north side, but all of our neighborhoods. So stay tuned on Monday.
Super. Well, Mayor, let me just say this before we close. You were right in the middle of our panel with Black media, with some of the legends in Black media, Dorothy Lavelle, Carl West, and Harmeen is she's doing her show, but she's coming on later. But this, and Jamie Kane, you know, one of the things that we have been focused on is that we think it's really important to strengthen Black media from our perspective, because it tells our story. History is his story, and no one tells our story like we tell our story. And so we have to work very hard from our perspective to help drive revenue so our businesses can grow, can attract young journalists to come and work for them and do those things. So we would appreciate any support that you can give to Black media, which we think is so, you know, we think it's a strategic resource in our community to make sure they grow and they're healthy and expand. So again, any help that you can give to us in terms of helping Black media would be greatly appreciated. We do know that you did, for the first time in history that I'm aware of, that you called for Black media only to interview you in your 2-year thing. So my hat's off to you. And I don't know if
and people lost their minds, but I know it was the right thing to do. From the conversations that I've had with so many Black journalists across the city, many of them came to me and said, thank you. Thank you for igniting a conversation that needed to be had, or one that had been started but went nowhere. And I think there's more work to be done, but I've taken notice of media outlets, and I won't name names here, but I think you can probably figure it out. Business journals that never covered anything about Black Chicago. Suddenly, they've discovered there are Black people that live in Chicago. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, but more to do.
Super. Well, Mayor, thank you very much. And we're going to let you go, and we're going to continue this robust conversation.
President Larry Ivory.
How you doing there? The distinguished and honorable Congressman Danny Davis. Glad to have you with us here today to welcome us. And it's a pleasure to have you on with us.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm delighted anytime and all the time, especially during this period in the history of our state, the history of our country, and the history of our world. I just want to commend and congratulate the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce for the outstanding work that you do in terms of trying to help make sure that the playing field is fair and equal for African Americans, especially those in small business, those who are the economic engines that drive the economy in our communities. And the work that you do, I also happen to listen on Saturday mornings most of the time. I'm available and around and have my radio on. And when I hear you and Brother Malcolm Weems come on, I know that I'm going to get some great information, some tremendous insights. And if ever there was a need for what you do, that need is now. Many of the calls and much of the information that I get from African Americans in business is the whole business of how do we acquire business? How do we get in to see those individuals that we need to see? How do we make sure that we have procurement opportunities? And how do we make sure that the playing field is equal and equitable? So I commend you. I thank you. And let me tell you, the first acknowledgement of work that I've done as I went to the House of Representatives, one year I received something called the Perrin Mitchell Award from the National Black Chamber of Commerce. And I always hold that near and dear, right where I can look at it whenever I'm reminded of the needs that continue to exist. So thank you very much. It is indeed a pleasure. And I look forward to the continuation of your work.
Congressman Danny Davis, it is a real pleasure. You are a statesman and one of the best, we can say we have one of the best congressmen in the United States. And we will continue to support you and continue to wish you the very best. So again, Congressman Danny Davis, thank you for taking the time to say hello to the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce in the 16th Annual Convention.
Thank you. And when I grow up, I don't want to be no ordinary man.
I hear you. So at this time, Senator Dave Kaler.
Well, thank you so much, Larry, my good friend. And yes, you are my constituent. I'm the only one in the Illinois Senate that can claim that. And it's a bit humbling to follow a great like Congressman Danny Davis. So I respect his work so much and all the work he has done throughout the years. Congratulations to you, Larry, and to the Black Chamber of Commerce on this, your 16th annual convention. I remember just a few years ago, you had the convention over in East Peoria, and I was able to participate in that and see all the good work you do. And I would echo the comments that the work you have done throughout the past years have been really important, not only just to your members, but have been important to the fabric of Illinois. And especially your leadership now during this pandemic, who could have predicted? And I guess when times like these come, the true leaders and the true organizations stand up and really help provide some of the guidance that we need to see our way forward. I know you've had a chance to talk about the energy bill. The governor just signed the energy bill. It's a huge, complex, comprehensive bill. I think it puts Illinois in the lead in terms of all the states of being serious about climate change and what we have to do to really save our planet and to pass it on to our children and grandchildren. But I want to highlight, especially for this conference, for this convention, one of the provisions in the energy bill, and that's the equity provision. It talks about not only making jobs and training available for Black and Brown people, it talks about making opportunities available for minority contractors. And this is an important part of this legislation. And if you'll notice, there's a theme here. And it started when we approved the legalization of cannabis. First of all, we're the only state in the union to do this by legislation. And in that legislation, we put in there some equity and justice provisions that said, and here's how I explain it to groups I talked to, that since Black and Brown people were really hard hit by the war on drugs, we're not just going to sit around and watch a whole lot of white guys get richer. This has to be an equitable situation where we spread the benefits out to the whole state. Now, I have no personal interest in the cannabis legislation, but as a policy for the state of Illinois, I'm very supportive because we need to not incarcerate people because they happen to use marijuana, and the expungement process of that bill was very important. But the theme here is that we cannot make inclusion and justice and making sure that all of the people who make up Illinois have an opportunity to participate in this. That this is the theme, and it cannot just be some kind of an afterthought after we pass legislation. It has to be a major central piece of legislation that says this is not only what we're going to do, but this is how we're going to do it. The means is as important as the end. And so I'm very proud of the fact that Illinois has taken the lead in this, in making sure that we put into our legislation justice and equity provisions. Now, it doesn't let us off the hook because we have to make sure that it works. And as you know, with the cannabis legislation, we've had to back up on that and take another run at it to make sure that we are truly walking the walk and talking the talk. I do know that we're going to get into a healthcare discussion, and I'm so glad to see my good friend, Dr. Jeffrey Sterling from Simcoe. And I think that we're going to have a very robust discussion about healthcare, because this is the next focus that we as a state of Illinois need to be about. And that is the same issue. We have to focus on equity for our recipients. And we know that during this pandemic, Black and brown communities have been tremendously hard hit, more so than any other aspect of our society. And so we have to make sure that we have equity and justice in terms of the recipients of healthcare, but equally as important of those who are providing healthcare. And that's where we have really not done an adequate job, really, in either of those two areas. But we have to start seeing more minority participation in terms of the provider community that is dispensing healthcare as well. And I know we're going to get into that discussion, but I think that the Black Chamber of Commerce is the perfect place to have this discussion. And Dr. Sterling, it's just always a pleasure to be with you and to see with you and engage in this conversation. Larry, thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Senator.